When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/income.
It's perfectly browned, it's melty, it's sweet. It's the s'more you just cooked over the fire at AutoCamp. That's right, Hilton brings you new ways to stay, where you don't just get nightly s'mores. You also get clubhouse happy hours to gather under the stars. All while staying in custom-designed Airstreams, cabins, and tents, and insanely cool outdoor destinations. If AutoCamp sounds like a dream, it sounds like it's time to redeem those Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Hi, I'm Josh. I support GenXGrownUp on Patreon because their unique flavor of upbeat nostalgia and overall zest for fun are such important antidotes to much of the noise on social media. You can support them too. Invest in zest by heading over to patreon.com/GenXGrownUp and adding your support.
GenXGrownUp is a YouTube channel, website, and audio podcast you're listening to right now. All made for and by people who love exploring media, games, tech, and toys of yesterday and today through the eyes of Gen Xers who refuse to grow up. Your dinner cannot just be French fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up. Welcome back, GenXGrownUp podcast listeners, to this episode 184 of the GenXGrownUp podcast. I am John. Joining me as always, of course, is Mo. Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going?
Wouldn't be a show without George. How you doing, George?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
In this episode, we watch a new action horror film in which a supermoon event is turning people into werewolves. Log on to a website that lets you find, track, and collect the best giveaways in gaming, and check out a vintage tabletop game that combines board and arcade games for a singular retro experience. Those topics and many more coming your way in this episode. First, though, look, there's three of us. There's myself, there's Mo, there's George. Some of us listen to the show. If anybody else does, though, you are our fourth listener. And the fourth listener for this episode is Brian J. So he dropped us a line with the subject, binge listening never gets old.
Like that.
Okay. So let that be a lesson to you, George. Binge listening never gets old. You can just listen. You can binge if you want.
I don't know if I don't think I qualify since I don't listen at all. There's no binge.
You have to listen to one first and then begin the binge. That's the problem. Here's what Brian says. Hey guys, I am a Gen X guy who really loves your content. Thank you, Brian. Besides being a member of the YouTube channel, I have purchased some shirts from your website and lately have been binge listening to the podcasts. All right.
This is like our favorite kind of listener.
That's right. This is a holistic consumer. I like it. Yes. He goes on to say, I don't know how, but there is a therapy to listening to three longtime friends talk about shared interests. I have a lot of frustrations and challenges in my life these days.
Oh, yeah.
But I can always count on the three of you to make me laugh at least once per show. Thank you for the low bar, Brian. We appreciate it. That's all we have to do. Just get the one and we're good.
I just want to take issue with the three friends part. Are we friends? I don't know if we really
are.
The
listeners, 2 out of 3 of us are friends. Yes.
2 out of 3 of us. Fair enough.
Figure out which.
On any given day, we don't know which 2, but yes. Yeah. Hey, maybe that was Brian's one laugh in this episode. We might be off the hook for the rest of the show. He wraps it up by saying, anyway, thank you, and I will share Gen X Grown Up with others, Brian in Cincinnati.
Nice.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, we feel you. We all have. Look, we're old now. We have those frustrations and challenges you talk about, and whether it's us or whatever you find that brings you joy, you got to latch onto that and wring the joy out of it that you can find. So we're happy that Gen X Grown Up brings some of that levity to you, certainly. certainly makes us feel good to know that. Brian, thank you so much for taking the time to drop us a line. Fourth listener, if you would like your email featured here on the show, you know it is drop dead easy. All you have to do is hit us up at podcast@GenXGrownUp.com. We read every single email, and most of them, just like Brian's, will eventually make the show. All right, good and business in the rearview mirror. Let's jump into the body of episode 184 after this quick break.
This episode is brought to you by Hill's Pet Nutrition. Every shelter pet deserves a second chance, and you're making it possible for thousands of them every day. Because when you feed your pet Hill's, you help feed a shelter pet, which helps make them healthy, happy, and more adoptable, changing their life forever. So they can change yours. Over 15 million shelter pets fed and adopted. Science did that. Visit hillspet.com/podcast to learn more.
You're listening to Gen X Grown Up. But if you have a friend who's not yet listening, why not? Tell them about us. They'll thank you later.
Please release parking brake.
Introducing cars that talk. High-tech imports. The 1983 Challenger and Sapporo, imported only for Dodge and Plymouth. Their electronic voice alert system gently reminds you to do things you sometimes forget.
Please close
and their
door.
high-tech instruments analyze, record, inform. The Technica option. Available only on Dodge Challenger and Plymouth Sapporo.
Please turn out headlights.
Now, 10.9% annual percentage rate financing on all new 82 import cars. See participating Dodge and Plymouth dealers for details.
We're going to get the ball rolling the same way we always do, talking about media we have been checking out. This could be television or comics or books or music or movies, whatever you've been enjoying. And Mo,
Yeah.
you have something on the list here that I was looking forward to, watched some of, and couldn't keep going. So would you share with us what you've been watching?
God.
Endorsements aplenty.
Let me tell you.
Gen X Grown Up.
Really?
Yeah, I can tell you right now, the movie is Werewolves, plural. Werewolves.
Fred Grillo.
This movie, if there's a movie that hit every point that I don't like about these movies, this movie hit it.
Wow, really? And it's Frank Grillo, right?
Oh, yeah,
It's a lot.
absolutely, which is awesome.
Damn it, I love him.
I know, he's great. Just the whole, well, okay, so the premise of the movie is that there was a supermoon, and that's apparently when the moon is like really close to the earth and it's a full moon, blah, 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 that turns anybody who's exposed to it into a werewolf.
So the fucking planet?
Basically.
Yeah,
So
you're outside.
Oh, you had to be outside. I was,
had to be
I was
outside.
like,
Yeah,
what
you
does
had to be like-
exposure constitute here?
Yeah, you had to be in the moonlight. But anyway, so a billion people died that night, and now it's a year later. So this movie actually takes place a year. There's another supermoon coming, and they are now like trying to prepare for it. So people are barricading their homes, doing security, getting guns, and of course, there's a group of scientists that are trying to study and figure out a way of stopping it and stopping people from turning into werewolves. And you got, of course, the crazy people that enjoy the fact that they turn into werewolves and they're they're totally thrilled about it and stuff. But okay, I could totally suspend belief in a movie like No One's Business. All right. I mean, I totally can. The only thing I ask is that you stay consistent with whatever it is you're doing.
Right, with your rules.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever your rules are, just stay consistent. This movie did not do that at all. Everybody, if there was a stupid thing that somebody could do, they did it. Not one person, every single freaking person in this movie did the wrong thing. Which you think if they're prepared and they're supposed to be intelligent people, oh my God, it was actually like making me upset. I was like yelling at the screen like as I was watching this thing. I'm waiting for the riff tracks.
That'd be good. Yeah. The beginning part you were talking about reminded me kind of The Purge, how everybody was ready for whatever is going to, is that what you were going to say too, George? The Purge prep?
So I was going to say, should we just retitle this movie to An American Werewolf in the Purge and be done with it?
That's about what it was like. Yeah. It was, they're barricading and getting weapons and that kind of thing. And
security
let's see how it
systems.
goes, right?
And it's a year later. I just wanted to know, you said, it's a year later, isn't there a supermoon every fucking year? Because isn't there a time in every year when the moon is close to the earth?
Yes, because this is a year, the next supermoon's coming. And they're assuming the same thing's going to happen, so they're preparing for it.
I'm not the NASA guy. I know you're like Mr. Planetary Space guy and everything. So I'm just guessing. It seems to me like there's always a point where the sun and the earth are furthest away. That's winter for us. And when they're close together, it's summer. I was thinking might be a similar thing with the moon. Yeah. Which, by the way, being trapped in the supermoon moonlight, it's just reflected sunlight. So all of a
Don't
sudden
wreck the movie
sun
anymore.
creates
That's already
werewolves or some shit. And shouldn't it be vampires, not werewolves? I don't, whatever.
Okay, so an example of how ridiculous this movie is. A person goes over and they sets up his brother died last year, so he's protecting his brother's wife and kid, right? So he sets up the whole house with like security systems and barbed wire and all the 9 yards. Okay, so if you were the person in that house with your child, where would you be the entire night?
Basement?
I would be in front of the fucking security monitors.
Well,
I would be.
I'd put the security monitors in the basement
with your child. Stay together.
I would be staring at those things the entire night.
Right.
No. She's in the living room talking to her, hugging her daughter and talking. I'm like, your daughter will get over this eventually. And of course, while she's doing that, the werewolves are smart enough to figure out how to take out the cameras and she doesn't notice that they're going out. I mean, I was just sitting there like, oh my God. If there was a movie where
werewolves are taking pictures and putting them up in front of the camera lenses to make it look like nobody.
And I'm like, if there was a movie where I was actually rooting for the bad guy in this one, I'm like, God, I hope these werewolves win because it just drove me crazy. And like I said, the riff tracks will be hilarious.
Yeah.
And you said this was Frank Grillo is the star. Is he human or is he werewolf?
Human.
Okay, so he's
don't forget,
human.
people turn back to human after the event. They turn back at daybreak.
Well, fair enough, but he's the hero of the story?
Yes.
Okay.
He's also a scientist,
so he's the hero of this. We're talking about a movie that we all agree sounds very similar to a Purge storyline. Frank Grillo was in 2 of the damn Purge movies himself.
That's how he got cast.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like, I just imagine on the second film of The Purge, he was sitting on set one day talking with some of his people or something, said, you know, it would be funny if there were werewolves in this fucking movie. And now years later,
I'm going to write that down. I'll call you next year.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. Oh, it was terrible. So if you want to laugh, like, this is one if you're a bunch of friends and you're drinking heavily and want to watch something funny, put it on because it'd be hilarious because you'll be probably throwing these at the screen. But it was just a dumb movie.
I didn't finish it. Like I told you, couldn't.
So, George, you have something better, right?
Oh, well, shit, now I got to go watch Werewolves. I'm not going to talk about the thing. I want to go watch Werewolves and see this piece of shit just to have it in my holster, in my back pocket of like, oh, I watched this terrible movie
Things
in 2025.
to make fun of course.
Right? I mean, yeah, I think the thing that I wanted to talk about is a little bit better than Werewolves.
A little.
Well, you know, it all depends on your taste, I suppose, right? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder and all that. But season 4 of Mythic Quest.
Yes, much better. Okay.
Debuted. I've watched the first 2 episodes of it, and how do I describe it? It's kind of like falling back into an old, warm, comfortable chair that you've always loved.
Get it?
We've been roughly 2 years almost from the time we had the last episode.
It's been
it was
a while,
2023 till now. And it's just a really fun series. It's so well put together. Rob McElhenney is one of the original show creators, along with a couple other people from his It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia past. The cast is pretty much all back together, of course, except for F. Murray Abrahams, which, you know, we understand why. But they're all back outside of they're not in quarantine. You know, COVID is over, so they're all back in the office. Ian and Poppy, the 2 lead characters who also created the game together originally, are back in charge kinda of the game, although the people up in Canada still own the company that they sold it to and everything. And so all these characters are doing all this. They've moved on in their lives in what feels like a normal amount of progression for the time that we've had in real time between the last series and this series. I think my only big concern is I know there's only going to be like 8 or 10 episodes and then it's going to be over. And I just don't know if we're going to get a 5th season or not.
Oh, yeah. Hope so.
Because it took so long just to get to this one. Now, I know there were writer strikes in the meantime. And of course, we were coming back from COVID, but they did a season during COVID.
Right.
So I don't know if it's because McElhenney has a lot of other projects that he works on outside of this, and maybe his time is far more constrained. But, you know, this is an Apple series, and you would think they probably shoot the bulk of their episodes back to back to back, all like in a movie format, and then edit and release them when they want to. I just don't want it to be the end. Now, the first 2 episodes don't indicate anything that makes me think it's going to be an end. It's just the timing of how long we had to wait between seasons and how little fanfare Apple TV has put on this really good series coming back. It's like they barely announced it or anything.
It just sort of came back, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. I hadn't noticed that, but you're right. If we weren't talking about it, I would know it was a new season.
Yeah. I'm worried about that too, because I love this series. The characters are all just quirky as hell in fun ways and stuff, and they totally lean into those quirks, which I really like. I hope they do another season. The only thing that kind of confused me is like the fact that Poppy, those guys are back. Kind of it's like it almost like it's sort of like picked up like in the middle of like a chapter, sort of. It felt in a way like I was like, what? Okay, I just went with it, of course, but I was like, okay, I wonder how all this stuff happened. But it made sense after a while. But it was like I say, it's just a funny. And Charlie Day also is one of the creators of the show.
He is, from Sunny at Philadelphia.
I don't know why it took him so long to make this season, but
I mean, I tried to do a little bit of research. I can't find anything that points to why there was a reason. Now, of course, we know in the midst of Mythic Quest and Sunny in Philadelphia and all the other stuff he has going on, he's obviously running a professional soccer team now because he is one of the co-owners of Wrexham.
Yep.
So maybe all of his interests were just competing for time, and this was the thing that took a back seat because, arguably of all the things he does, it's probably the smallest thing that he's involved in.
Wrexham,
but it just feels like a little spot that tickles my humor bone every time I get to watch one of the episodes. There's not a scene in a single episode that isn't funny or progressing towards a funny moment. Every scene is just top notch. The writing is stellar. It's some of the best writing I've ever seen. The actors and actresses so commit to their characters that you almost wonder, are they kind of like that in real life in some place?
You wonder, right?
They are so believable in what they do that you're like, I could see that would be a really needy, clingy, mean girlfriend type of person. I can see this one be a devious, money grubbing kind of thing. I can see this guy just being a dupe and gets run over in an office. You can see all their characteristics in their characters, and they're doing such a good job. You feel like it's them in real life. But if you haven't caught Mythic Quest at all, I highly recommend going back to season 1 to binge it up through now and then continue with it, of course, which I hope you'll enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, we obviously don't share the same sense of humor, and that's your fault, not mine. But it's a great series. They're fun little 20-minute episodes or something like that. So it's like potato chip TV viewing. You can watch several of them in a row and not feel like you're just sitting in your chair waiting for Oppenheimer to be over. This is some good, light, fair, fun stuff. And quite frankly, I need this time of year.
Yeah, sure. I don't blame you. Yep. Great show.
Yeah. What about you, John? You got anything that's as fun as Mythic Quest or as crazy batshit blah 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 as Werewolves, or something completely different?
Something probably somewhere in the middle. And I had never heard of this film until Mo mentioned looking forward to it the last time we spoke for the last episode. So this is a new film that I guess you would categorize it in the horror genre, but I'll quickly contradict that in a moment. But it's called Presence. And when Mo said he was looking forward to it, I'm like, I got to put that on the list because, it's some kind of a genre-changing haunted house, spooky something going on. And I went to watch the trailer, and I didn't learn jack shit about the movie from the trailer, which is a good sign.
Yeah.
And then, they do the final trailer because it was release week. I went, now let me go watch this and see what it's about. And I still didn't know what it was about. So I'm like, okay. So there must be something so radical in this movie that they can't give it away in the trailer. So they just show scenes of people walking around a house and being confused is all they're showing. So got a ticket, went to see it. I've now been back to the theater to see it again because it's so damn good. This movie, I've recommended it to so many people. And unfortunately, the only thing you can say is you've got to go see it. I can't tell you about it. I'm going to try to talk about the parts that I can tell you about because don't let anyone spoil it for you. You need to see this. It won't be for everyone. It's a relatively short movie. It's like 83 minutes, like hour 20
hour and a half,
or something
like that. Yeah.
Yep. And you might think you've heard the twist already and ruined it. So I'm going to give you the twist you think was ruined. The point of view from the movie, you are the ghost. Okay.
Yeah.
If you've heard that or I've already had it ruined for me. No, you haven't. You figure that out in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
If that.
You are, in fact, point of view, like this long steady cam shot, you are the spirit in this home, and a new family moves in and you're observing their lives. They've had trauma in their life. They don't get along. The only real big name you're going to notice from this probably is Lucy Liu, who does a great job as a
Tiger mom?
Yeah, you've heard the henpecked husband. She's the henpecker. She is the one who's running the house, wears the pants. She's the bully and the boss a bit. I mean, they have a decent marriage, but it's strained, had challenges in their life. They move in this house and the story progresses. The mechanism in the story is that you watch this long scene that I think many of them have no cuts or cuts that are hidden, and it just cuts to black. And when it comes back up, maybe a minute's passed, maybe a day or 3 days has passed, and you see what's happened next and what's happened next. I'm afraid to talk much longer about this movie. And so I'm not going to say much more about the film other than to say, if you like, they call it horror. There's nothing scary in this movie. No. There is stuff that's haunting in this movie, intellectually frightening to ponder. It's also the kind of movie that when you watch it the second time, it's going to be a different movie for you. But it's not a perfect film. It is so different, though. It is, and not that different on its own would make it good, but we've talked about different movies recently, like, oh, they did something unique and different here. And, George is one of the first to chime in. That doesn't make it a good movie. And you're right. But what they did different here, not only is it something I've ever seen done before, but it's done in such a way that I think, Mo, you said last time about what a movie you saw, when you left and you're still thinking about it days and weeks later, that movie has done that to me. And I cannot recommend it. It's my favorite movie of the year, probably of the last 3 months that I've seen. So good.
Yeah, I saw it with John, actually, and I had no idea what it was about. I just knew it was people moving into a haunted house. That's pretty much all I knew.
There you go.
Right?
Yep. That's all you need to know.
And I don't want to give it away either. Just that they did such a good job that, like I said, you're the point of view of this ghost or spirit, whatever you want to call it. And there's something weirdly creepy about when a person who's not you notices you.
Yeah, like, well, what was that? Am I seeing something?
Because it had to happen where we move into the house and then one of the people just looks right at the camera and with a questioning look, like, what was that? Like, did I see something there? And you realize that, oh my God, they saw me. Like, in a way, I mean, you really feel like, oh my God, I don't know what to think about this now. They saw me, or they think they saw me, or whatever. And he said the twist, and I wouldn't even call it really a twist. I think it's just it made sense. And when you go back, like you said, John, I can't wait to see this again because I think it will make the whole movie put it into context a lot better. But it was just very well done. They do a lot of, I guess they call them, like Hitchcock call them, like, what is it, MacGuffins or something, like a lot of side story things that you're not sure what's important, what's not. Like you're trying, but the ghost sees everything, right? The spirit sees everything that's going on in this house, and they were consistent. They never broke from that point of view, which they just did an excellent job. It could have easily have been a terrible movie, and it wasn't. Yeah. I think it easily been a better movie too, but at this point, there's not much. You can't do that again, really. Someone tries to do that again, it's like it's not going to be the same thing, even close, because it was such an interesting twist and surprise. So Presence, it's in theaters right now. I mean, you know how streaming works. Probably in a few weeks it's going to be on streaming. If somebody tries to talk to you about it, tell them to shut up. Don't let anybody ruin this for you. You'll be glad you waited to see it for yourself, because for me, twice in a row, I'd already seen it, and the second time I saw it, I went, whoa. Then when the reveal happens, it's just so impactful. It's just so well done. So go check out Presence. Okay, stick around. We'll be right back.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
I think I just won my taxes.
Yeah?
I just switched to H&R Block in about 1 minute. All I had to do was drag and drop last year's return into H&R Block, and bam, my information is automatically there.
So I don't have to go digging around for all my old papers to switch?
Nope.
Sounds like we just leveled up our tax game.
Switching to H&R Block is easy. Just drag and drop your last return. It's better with Block.
Be sure to subscribe to or follow Gen X Grown Up wherever you listen. And while you're there, rate and review the show too. It helps more than you know.
I'm 32 years old,
And I love Kellogg's Frosted Flakes.
Brave adults are coming forward to challenge the notion that Frosted Flakes is just a kid's cereal.
I know there's a tiger in the box. I like the taste, okay?
Because you love them as a kid doesn't mean you can't love them as an adult.
One day, our neighbor saw the package on the table.
And we don't even have children.
With that extra crunch and milk, that frosting just right, that taste is great as ever.
Well, they've always been my favorite. So dig in. Frosted Flakes have the taste adults have grown to love. They're great.
All right, I'm going to kick off Tech and Toys today with something that's techie and very practical. I've been on this practical thing kick lately, so I'm going to stick with it.
Boy, getting married has really wrecked your playful side, Mo. What is this practical junk?
Let me tell you, this is directly related to the fact that I got married, too.
When he's single, he gets a full-size Cubert cabinet.
Yeah.
When he's married, he gets a warming coffee cup. What are you doing over there?
I know, exactly. So, wife is now living in our home. And because now it's our home,
as they do,
she's making changes, which I'm totally behind 100% because they all have been awesome. When the change,
and also because she listens to the show, so you have to say that.
Love you, honey. But we redid our backyard, and one thing she always wanted to do is put up, the lights, the kind of the low, like the kind of golden color lights you put in your patios and stuff in the outdoors, the string lights, basically. So I was like, okay, putting them up, but then I was like, where the hell you plug them in, right? That's kind of like the issue. Like, I didn't want to put another outlet out there or something like that. So I was looking for options, and I found these things on Amazon, of course. They're called Brighton Wi-Fi add-on outlet adapter. So if you have an external light, like a floodlight or something like that, you pull that out, put this in its place, and it gives you a place to put your floodlight, and outlets are built into it.
Okay.
So right into my soffit where, my floodlight was, because they were old, I got rid of them anyway. I now have outlets and the best thing for me is that I can control a Wi-Fi, so it satisfies that techie, nerdy itch in me to do this. And I was surprised. I put it in, just wired it like you would wire a light, basically. There's no real difference in it. And it worked. It just worked. We put the lights up, plugged them in, they turned on. I was like, holy crap. I was like, I like it when something just works the way it's supposed to. You don't have to worry about it. And each one comes with 2 outlets that you can control independently through a Wi-Fi app, or you just, leave them on, just use a regular switch for it if you want. But for a problem that I thought was going to be extremely complicated to figure out, it made it stupidly easy to do.
And what about a price point? I hear you mention so you have an adapter now that saves you going to an electrician and getting something installed. And you said it gives you a bulb if you still want to plug in a floodlight there. But Wi-Fi control, I'm guessing Amazon and Google Assistant and everything. What's the price point?
It was $60. So a little pricey, but not awful. I mean, considering the effort it would take me to figure out another solution for it, I was like, it was worth the $60, quite honestly.
It's still cheaper than an electrician coming out. That's a $125 minimum. So
he won't roll the truck for under 100.
He won't open the door. Like I said, it was like wiring a new light. Like if you could handle that, then you can handle this. Super low tech. It came with all the pieces and parts you need also, which is really nice. I didn't have to go to a hardware store for really anything to add to this or take away from this. And it saved me a bunch of time and a bunch of money, so I'm not going to complain.
And did the wife approve?
100%.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. That's the golden seal. All right.
Yeah. She got the light. She is extremely happy, which of course that's the whole point of my life now. So it's awesome. So that's what I have. What about you, George? What do you have?
So I guess it's a little technological. It's a little toyish. It's basically a website that helps you to find free-to-play games. And I don't mean the kind of free-to-play games where you can download it for free all the time and then you have a bunch of in-app purchase bullshit anything like that. This is games that normally cost you an amount of money, like $10, $20, $60, but for a specific period of time in a specific place like Steam or Grand Ole Games or any of those other sites, this particular game is free. The way I stumbled upon this is a little bit weird and unique. So over on our Discord server, GenXGrownUp.com/Discord, we have been trying to integrate some new bots that would just put out an announcement every time a game was made for free on one of these platforms. And we were doing that because one of our members over there on Discord asked us for it, and they found a bot that they liked, and that bot was called CarlBot, I believe. And I tested it around on one of our test servers just to get used to it a little bit. It ended up not working out for us because all of our deals and stuff are in a forum type of channel as opposed to a regular text channel. And CarlBot can't post inside a forum.
Oh.
So I found a different bot for our Discord server that would do it, and we've been running that one for a little while, but I still have CarlBot on the test server. And so it's still posting announcements. And I was looking at it the other day, and the little button that says you can claim that game for yourself, which all these bots do, which is a nice little feature. I noticed that it was going to the same website every time when I hovered over the button. That website is called gamerpower.com.
Oh, that's where it's getting its data from.
That's how I found this website. So I don't know if the Gamer Power people built CarlBot, or if the CarlBot people built Gamer Power, or if they're just unrelated and that one's using the API of another. But the Gamer Power website has a lot more than what the bot has been putting in our server so far. So not only does it show you games, it can show you by platform. So Steam, Epic, itch.io, GOG, Xbox One, PS4, Nintendo, so on and so forth. It also has sections that are just the DLC types of things that you could grab. It has some kind of an account system where you could go on and somehow add these games or favorite them or something to your bookmark. It's a really well put together site that has a lot of stuff on it that's totally free. So as much as I advertise and advocate for Humble Bundle, as a great way to get a bunch of games for free or for really cheap, this is a great way to get a bunch of games for free. Now I'm going to talk about one of those games in the gaming segment that I got through this system a little bit later on, but I am very happy that there is something out there that's a little bit like, is there any deal? It's a little bit like Humble Bundle, but it's specifically geared for free games only.
Nice.
Yeah. It's like, is there any freebie? It's like beyond, is there any deal? It's a huge deal. Yeah, I've been the beneficiary of your beta testing. So in our private server, we've been doing the testing, and I can't wait for you to get around to approving it to go live on the main server, because I have downloaded more free games in the last 2 or 3 weeks that you've been testing it.
So you may not realize it's already live in our server.
Well, I haven't seen it there, so I've only seen it this one. So that's good.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I've seen it both places and didn't realize.
But FreeBot
the new
is
one.
Live.
Okay. So when the notifications would hit, like, I know there are free games out there. I know you talk about on a Twitch stream that, hey, go check Amazon when you're there. And it's just, I don't think of going out to look for them. And I love that this Gamer Power exists, but I won't ever remember to go and look for it, because sure, they'll change and new ones will come each week and whatever. And I'm going to say that's awesome. And then 3 weeks from now, I won't remember to do it on a regular basis. So having that notification in the server is like, it pops up. It's almost like, it's like somebody coming to your door and going, knock, knock, knock. Here's something free. Do you want it?
Yeah.
And you go, oh, not today, not today. Oh yeah, gimme. You're reminded that something is free. That's usually the problem with freebies, is that that's the incentive for you to go be on that platform, but I'm not already. And so this is the other way around. It's like, we'll monitor for you. You just let us know when you want something, and boom, it's yours. I love that.
Yeah, I really like it too, just because one, it gives you a link. You just click, you hit the link and it just takes you right to it. So it makes it painless. And also, a lot of these free games, they're only on for a limited time. Almost all of them are only on for like a week or 2 weeks or something. And if you miss it, it's gone, And like a lot of time, I pretty much will always get the key and get it installed. I just may not install them all, but I figure one day I might, so might as well have it. So, why not?
Take it while it's free.
Yeah, it's a great system. I love that all these platforms are having to compete with each other to offer us these free things. I love that it's also giving people an opportunity to go find some games that they might have missed when they were first released, start talking about them, and then encouraging their friends possibly to go buy the games after the fact. Like, so imagine a game is $40. Well, you didn't want to pay for it when it was $40 because you didn't know if it was going to be worth it or not, right? That's always the catch-22.
Right.
It's not like back in the day when there used to be demo CDs that you could go and play like 10 minutes worth of a game, or 3 you don't know jack questions before it yelled at you to go to Walmart to go buy the game.
And you do.
So this is a good way for a small amount of people to get to play the games for free that can then influence a larger amount of people to go pay for the games that will then support the creators of these games. Because a lot of these games are from smaller, gaming publishers, right? They're not the big EA Sports type of stuff. Every now and then you'll see one of those pop up, but very rarely. The thing I like about this Gamer Power website, though, you mentioned, Mo, about how they they expire after a week or two. Well, this site seems to keep a list of these games for basically ever. You can scroll down, and it's funny because as I was scrolling through the free games, I was like, oh, those are free. And then I started getting to the section that had already expired. And I'm like, damn it, I hate that I missed that one. I wanted to try that one. But as I kept scrolling, a game that I think had previously expired had been put back into a free system on another platform. So as I scrolled through the list, I started seeing these little games in the list of expired games that were now available again. And I think maybe that's what the bookmarking part of the profile thing might be, that if you create an account on there, and I think if you add it to your favorites or something, maybe if the game becomes free later, you'll get some kind of a notification from it somehow. Cool. I haven't tested that part yet, but to what John was talking about earlier, we do have a bot right now in our live Discord server that is alerting us to games that are free. Now it's on a limited amount of platforms, but it does work. I know for sure it's doing the Epic stuff. We can't do the Amazon ones, which is crazily enough the largest amount of free games I get in a week. Epic usually gives you one, GOG usually gives you one, Amazon gives you like 6 every week. But the Amazon one is behind a paywall, so we haven't done that part yet because we're still testing. You have to be in Amazon, well, it's nobody seems to be able to get that Amazon API to get to the free games list.
Gotcha.
This is the first bot that I found that has it. So anyway, gamerpower.com. If you want to dig deep and go take a look, it's well worth it, I think.
Nice. Cool.
To realize the future America needs, we understand what's needed from us. To face each threat head on. We've earned our place in the fight for our nation's future. We are Marines. We were made for this.
Hi, this is comedian and writer, and let's be honest, I do a lot of things. This is Dean Archipotis, the host of Whiskey Business, the podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey. Yes, we drink and talk about whiskey, but we do so much more with so many interesting people. For example, we talk to comedians like Greg Warren.
I don't want to brag, but let's just say I can walk into a Red Lobster and get whatever. I think the pause right there is probably more important than the word.
Amazing athletes like boxing champion Buster Douglas. When a fighter's down and he's looking for his mouthpiece instead of trying to get up.
That's when I knew it was over.
Yeah, right? And yes, Bigfoot chasers.
Do you believe in Bigfoot? And if so, does he really eat beef jerky?
The Bigfoot thing is people have seen these, and I've seen a lot of compelling evidence about it.
It's Whiskey Business with Dean Archipotis. Join us for what we call a good conversation with a good pour. You really can't ask for much more than that, can you, people? Check us out at whiskeybusinesspod.com, a proud member of the Evergreen Podcast Network.
Each episode of Gen X Grown Up has show notes loaded with links where you can learn more about our topics. And there's even more to see and hear over at GenXGrownUp.com.
Mom, my Maxi Pads. I've discovered something new I like better, Maxi Thins. Thin pads, I need protection. Me too. I tried Maxi Thins for comfort, but stayed with them for protection. And they're folded in neat packages to go anywhere.
Maxi Pads need bulk to protect. Maxi Thins replaces bulk with a special material that works just as well, so you get protection in a thin, comfortable pad.
Hi, Mom. My Maxi Thins. Your Maxi Thins?
Try them for comfort. You'll stay with them for protection. Maxi Thins, new from Tampax.
This is the main event of the podcast. For the 3 in attendance locally and the millions listening around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned earlier that I was going to talk about one of those free games that I picked up through one of those free gaming websites, and this one happened to be through Epic, and it's called Undying. And I'm sorry to say, I think this game should just die.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Essentially, it's a point-and-click survival gathering type of game, like you've seen a million times before. The animation style is nice. It's kind of that slight motion graphic comic book, one single frame kind of stuff while it's telling the story.
Yeah.
And then when you go into the game mode, it's like cell-shaded, still in that same style. I started off falling in love with it for the first 30 seconds. The voice acting that was in it, number one, it wasn't the generic American voice. It was somebody from a Latin country, it sounded like. I couldn't quite place the accent, but it was nice to see some diversity in the voice acting. And the character was drawn accordingly. And it looked like it was going to be your typical, there's zombie outbreak. The government is trying to help people, you know, in these places. And this mother and her child are trying to survive kind of storylines. Mother gets bitten during the whole preliminary thing. And then her and her son escape. And, you know, she's trying to help him survive while you can tell she's been bitten and she's got to heal herself, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I started noticing toward the end of the previs stuff before the gameplay, the voices weren't matching the captions that were being displayed on the screen. And I don't mean like a word off. I mean like whole sentences off. And then they weren't timed properly. And then they were just gone. And it was just captions. When it got to the game mode, there was a couple of times where somebody would go erg or arg. And then there would be a whole caption dialogue text line, but the character would say nothing. It's almost as though they didn't pay their voice actors all the way or something, and so they didn't finish the recording. And that made me sad. The gameplay itself, the mechanics are pedestrian. They're not difficult to figure out. They're not great. There's a lot of randomness, like bugs and things like that. So the game feels very unfinished. Maybe that's why it's unfree. Maybe they're going to do more with it in the future. And I kind of hope they do, because like I said, I was really drawn in from the very first part of the game. So I played it for 5 minutes, and then I immediately switched over to the new Google game that's through their browser called Blockbuster. If you guys haven't played that yet, I'm just briefly going to mention, go to Google, in your search bar, type in Block Breaker, and you'll get a Arkanoid type of game in a little square box, and it's got a lot of fun little features. It's a tough game. I'm having a hard time with it, but I'm loving it. So go check that out if you like.
So I grabbed Undying because I saw it was for free. and I looked at it, I said, oh, this looks interesting. Let me actually install it and play it, you know, because I figured, you know, and I'm with you, George, like it was boring. It was just sort of dull. And at first I thought the story was kind of interesting. It's like, oh, you're a mom, but you got bit. So there's a time limit. And part of the game is you're trying to teach your son skills too. Right. You know, so I said, that's really interesting. It's really not. I mean, the way they did it was just not interesting. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to uninstall this one and, you know, not worry about it.
I also claimed the key. I haven't installed it yet. Maybe you saved me the trouble.
There you go.
Yeah, it might not be worth the 100 gigs it takes up of hard drive space yet. Yeah. Maybe they'll do an update and it'll become worth
improvement.
For right now, the bugs and the dialogue throw me so far outside of the mindset of the game that it makes me frustrated, and I just don't want to play it.
It pulls you out of the game.
Frustrated at the game. So anyway, like I said, if you're not down with Undying, go check out Block Breaker through Google. John, the thing you want to talk about is something that you've recently published a video about, and I'm very interested to understand what your experience is with this game device.
Yeah. So the game you're talking about is a board game, and it's a traditional board game. It came out in 1983. It was the time when, this is the time of Dark Tower, right? This is the time of Stop Thief. This is the time of, let's put electronics into board games. And more importantly, it was the time when arcades were nearing their peak as they, of course, the crash of 83 took a couple more years to impact arcades, meaning, out at the mall kind of arcades. So the game is called Arcade Mania. I went and watched a TV commercial for it, in fact, and it's like the front of a house ripped in half. They slides apart. Is your family divided, half playing video games and half playing board games? Bring the family together. So the idea is it is a board game that has an arcade game component. And the arcade game is kind of like Merlin, if Merlin had like Intellivision style overlays, and I go on the Intellivision controllers, those overlays.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a handheld toy that has like 9 lights on it. I think Merlin had 9 or 12, how many lights it had?
9, 10, I think.
Yeah, whatever. And then you would slide, but there are 4 different games you can play that use a keypad and those lights. You slide the overlay in, and it might be kind of a Centipede inspired game. It might be kind of a combat inspired game. Now, is it an arcade game? No, not technically. It's a Merlin game, but you're holding a toy and playing a video game, very much like the late 70s, early 80s style of handheld games. But then in around it, as I read the instructions, and I'll give Mo a link to the video to go and look if you want to actually see this thing. Mine doesn't fully work. The electronics work, but the keypad has a problem. But I was able to read the instructions and read some online stuff and understand how it works. That makes me so much want to get the last yard and get this thing fixed, because there's a gambling component in this game. So they know you're going to play it with little Billy and little Sally and mom and dad. And maybe mom and dad aren't so great at video games. Maybe Billy and Sally are, right? So first, each game has handicapping, so level 1, 2, and 3 that you play on. But further, you don't just gain these little chips based on how well you do at games. When someone takes a turn, you can wager how well you think they're going to do at the game. So if you're like, oh, this is George's best game, this little Centipede-inspired thing, I'm going to bet like 10 chips that he completes it. So even the people that don't play well are able to put a wager on you doing well. And with that kind of strategy, you don't have to be a wizard at the video game or a wizard at the board game. Either will serve you.
Okay.
The mechanics of it, the design of it were such that a couple of years ago, might have been even 3-4 years ago, remember there was a digital Pac-Man version of Monopoly, and it had a little arcade toy game. We haven't talked about it on the show. But playing it, my wife and I played it together, and she was very frustrated because she wasn't that good at the game and couldn't get, is how much money you got when you passed go or something was how well you did at the game. So she was broke as hell, and I had loads of money because I was better at the video game. How this 2020's Pac-Man game didn't learn from this ancient arcade mania, I don't know, but the design is such that you don't have to be a wizard at the little toy if you know how good your son or buddy or whatever are at these little games. So the one I got is in impeccable condition. It was missing one little poker chip thing, basically a tiddlywink, tiny thing.
Oh yeah.
Those could be pennies or, real poker chips or whatever to replace those. All the other stuff was there. I think the damage it has is just age. I've actually reached out to a couple of other YouTube channels that do fixing of things like this on their channel. Cool. See if maybe we can collaborate. Hey, you want to work with us? We'll ship it to you. You fix it, do a video on that, ship it back to me. Because often I'll do a video like this and it doesn't work. And maybe I'll get back to it. Maybe I won't. I'm actually focused on getting this to work because I think it's going to be really cool. It's one of those like I want to bring to SFGE. I want to sit around those big tables and play this with you guys, with other people, with our fans who visit. Apart from being an 80s board game and toy, and it's not one I saw a lot. Like, I've seen a lot of Dark Tower and Stop Thief. This one I think was out for a few months and then they stopped shipping it. So they're hard to come by. Brand new working, like $80-$90. I paid $25 for mine. So,
oh, wow.
Little extra work. Looks like all it's going to take to fix it. So yeah, check out the video. We'll link it down in the description. More importantly, keep an eye out for an update once I get around to figure out how to get it fixed. With any luck, we'll be playing it in a few months at SFGE. So stay tuned.
A lot can happen in 7 minutes, and luckily, that's how long it takes me to tell a story. My name is Aaron Califato, and I'm the creator of 7-Minute Stories. I'm proud to partner with Evergreen Podcasts, and I'd like to invite you to join me on this journey. I'm going to take you on some crazy roller coaster rides using my unique extemporaneous storytelling style, and together, we're going to try to make sense of the world, all through the art of storytelling, and all in approximately 7 minutes.
Coming up on 5-Minute News, I'm Anthony Davis. You might think it's partisan because maybe it's critical of one side or the other, but it's not. It's just the truth. And I think that's also something that's kind of unusual for Americans listening to the radio or to podcasts, because the news landscape in the States has been so partisan for so many decades. So 5-Minute News is verified, truthful, independent, unbiased, and essential world news daily.
If you're a die-hard Gen X grown-up, you can pledge your support by clicking join on YouTube or by becoming a patron at genxgrownup.com/Patreon.
I wish I had a picture.
I'm too scared to take pictures.
But I'm not smart enough.
Anyone can take great pictures with Minolta's 35mm autofocus compact, Minolta Freedom 2 for decision-free pictures, and Minolta Talker for words of wisdom.
Too dark. Use flash.
Both are autofocus, auto everything.
Hey, Dorothy.
Minolta Freedom 2 and Talker autofocus wizardry.
Only from the mind of Minolta.
All right, as we round out the show, we like to take a few minutes here to talk about the things we're looking at now, we're looking forward to between now and the next time we get together to speak. And I want to start with you this time, George, and hear what you have on the horizon.
You know, it was difficult to fill this list out because I don't know if I'm really looking forward to anything right now. I'm kind of enjoying the stuff that I'm watching. There's a lot of stuff that I got to catch up on that I haven't watched.
Fair.
But I went ahead and put a couple of things on the list just because, I guess. So I basically put them all up. I'm looking forward to all these with a question mark. First one, Invincible Season 3 comes out February 6th on Amazon Prime. I am so far behind that I've watched one episode of Season 2, so I got a lot of catching up to do.
You're looking forward to Season 2 still.
Yeah, I got a few articles that say it was a great season, and other ones say it was a horrible Season 2, so I don't know. Another one that I'm looking forward to, and this is mainly because my wife, my mother, and my son all like watching this, so I like watching it with them. It's a game show called The Floor. It's on Fox, and the new season, which is Season 3, starts on February 9th. This is hosted by Rob Lowe, and it takes a neat, interesting spin on the trivia game contest kind of video TV thing. It's really fun. Imagine if you had Risk combined with a trivia game where you have to dominate areas of a map kind of thing.
Okay.
Anyway,
all right.
Fox, February 9th. The thing that I'm most looking forward to, I guess,
enthusiastically,
is a new documentary series coming out on Netflix February 10th called Surviving Black Hawk Down. Now, you guys probably remember the super famous movie from what was it, late 90s, early 2000s, whenever that movie came out, Black Hawk Down, about the real world thing that happened in Somalia where we lost a Black Hawk helicopter in the middle of like this horrible war-torn city there. And the thing that interested me the most about the documentary is apparently they speak on camera to military survivors of that incident.
Oh,
really?
So this is not pundits who were experts in what was going on in Somalia at the time. These are the guys who lived that shitty experience and survived. So I think that'll be a really interesting documentary. It looks like they're calling it Season 1. I can't imagine there's going to be a Season 2, but it looks like it's going to be an episodic, probably 3 or 4 episodes. You know how Netflix does their documentaries when they do that. So anyway, February 10th, Netflix, that's what I'm most looking forward to. We'll see. John, how about you?
Yeah, so I have some I'm a little more enthusiastic about. So it'd be tough to be less enthusiastic, but I think we'll be all right. First, an audiobook. Now, this is an audiobook based on Kolchak the Night Stalker. You might remember this series from the late 70s, early 80s. Darren McGavin. It was kind of like a proto X-Files. He was a newspaper reporter who went after paranormally weird things, vampire-y kind of stuff. Anyway, it was based on an unpublished novel who I think the author was Jeff Rice. Anyway, point is, the series was based on that. It was never published. Well, it's since been published, but now there's a new audiobook being published. It's coming out February 11th. The reason I heard about it is the man reading the audiobook is none other than William Catt. The greatest American hero.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I follow him. So, of course, he's publicizing that he was in the recording studio. I'm like, oh, Kolchak the Night Stalker and William Catt? Well, that's fantastic. That's February 11th. It's going to be on Audible or probably anywhere you get audiobooks, but that's Audible's what I have a subscription to. The next one, now February 17th is Now, a new season of Survivor is coming at the end of the month, but February 17th begins Australian Survivor. Now, if you watch Survivor and kind of like it, Australian Survivor is that on steroids. It's somehow better, it's more strategic, it's less petty, it's better gameplay. I think they have fewer safety rules maybe, so it's a little more dangerous.
Absolutely.
I've been looking forward to more Australian Survivor. It's been 2 or 3 years since they had one, but that's coming February 17th. The thing I'm looking most forward to, and admittedly, it's a little bit of a stretch. It's toward the end of the month. We'll probably talk one more time before then, but by God, it's on my list. February 21st in theaters is a new interpretation of Stephen King's short story, The Monkey, that was originally in Night Shift, I think. It might have been the cover of Night Shift.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I've listened to the audiobook of this. I've read the short story multiple times. The concept of the monkey, if you don't know, is there's like one of those monkeys, the wind-up monkeys that have like the cymbals in the movie. It's actually a drum. And when the monkey plays them, someone dies.
Was the original movie or the movie that came out before called Monkey Shines?
I don't know if it was based on that or not. I didn't see that one.
It might have been something different. I'm not sure, though.
I think that's because if I remember right, the poster for Monkey Shines is a wind-up cymbal monkey.
Yeah. I don't know if it's based on Stephen King's or not, but at any rate, if you see the trailer for this thing, and Mo, I hope you can find it to put it in the show notes, because some of the most bizarre imagery, the craziest scenarios when this little wind-up monkey plays, it looks so... I've already got tickets. For opening night, even though it's like 3 weeks away. So Stephen King's short story, The Monkey, made into a new film, coming your way February 21st to the 20th, early releases. That's what I'm really looking forward to.
Nice.
Mo, how about you? What do you got coming up?
Let's see. I also looking forward to The Invincible Season 3, a little more than George, because I watched Season 2, so I'm ready for it.
It helps.
Yeah, and it comes out February 6th. Yellow Jackets, the series about the girls soccer team that they
my son wants us to start watching that.
It's intense. It's really good. It's season 3 is coming out February 14th. And what I'm most looking forward to, strangely enough, is Captain America Brave New World. I don't know, I like what they've done with that kind of progression of the story. As I watched the Winter Soldier, the Falcon and Winter Soldier series and I really I enjoyed that one, actually. And so this one's kind of like a continuation of that, and it kind of goes into like, it's Captain America, like politics versus what's right and all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping it'll be a little bit deeper than just like a regular fighting superhero movie. I hope it actually does cover some interesting topics. We'll see. Maybe not.
Yeah. I'm having trouble getting excited for that one. I think it just might be like the only Marvel movie that came out last year was just Deadpool Wolverine. They've had nothing for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And you'd think I'd be hungry for more, but I'm like, it was nice not to have to keep up with all the homework.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. Again, like it may be great. It may suck. Who knows? But I'm going to go see it. So that's one of those things, right?
All right.
So with that, one of the benefits of being a Patreon member is that you get to ask us a question that we will answer right here on our show. And today's question is from Kevin. And this one, I really kind of like this one because I had an answer right in my head when I read it. So that's why I like this one. Is what movie from your childhood do you think is the most overrated? And I'm going to lead off on this one because it came in my head as soon as I heard this one. For me, it's E.T. When I was a kid, that movie was, it was the biggest movie of that summer by far.
Oh, yeah.
Every actor who was in it was on every talk show, was on every nightly news thing. They were doing interviews everywhere. In New York, there was just lines every single showing to get in to see this movie.
Yep.
So finally, we braved the line, got super excited, went to see it, and I left. I'm like, really? It was like, it had some good moments for sure, but to me, I was like, it just seemed kind of like cute. Like it seemed like it was just too cutie kind of a movie for me. And I'm thinking like, well, if he can make all these kids fly, why don't he just fly himself out there and just be done with it? Like even back then as a kid, my kids like, my brain was like, why would even bother? But to me, I think that was overrated. I know people love that movie. They talk about how great it is, all that stuff. But to me, it wasn't as good as what I think everyone kind of made it out to be.
Yeah, it was like the highest grossing movie.
Oh, yeah, it was huge.
Until Jurassic Park broke it. Another Spielberg film. It took forever, like 11 years to break the streak. And
that's just me. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's fine.
How about you, John? What's your...
It's weird. I mean, you guys make fun of me a lot because there are so many seminal 80s films like The Goonies, for example, that I either missed out on or just haven't gone back to circle back to. And so a funny, quippy one would have been, oh, The Goonies is overrated because I've never seen it. But clearly I want to pick something that I actually have a basis and knowledge for. And especially it's when going back and rewatching. And for me, it's Porky's. Now, when I was a kid, kids in my school wouldn't stop talking about Porky's. They loved it. They thought it was the funniest thing ever. They thought it was hilarious. They wouldn't. But looking back, it's not that like the just salacious and nudity for its sake is bad, or that the stuff that didn't age well bothers me. Like, I still think Revenge of the Nerds is great, and it has those uncomfortable moments that didn't age well. But it feels like now when I go back and look at when I go back and look at Porky's, there's no structure underneath the filth. Like, it's almost like a stag film for tweens. It's like, well, it's not hardcore porn, but it's as close as you can get, be in the movie theater, and that's going to get us the tickets. When I go back and watch it, I don't see anything in it from a film standpoint that earned it the popularity that it got that I saw other kids enjoy. So yeah, that's the one that, and there are others out there, of course, but for me, that's the one that just has no redeeming value when I try to watch it again. I mean, I can see boobs for free on the internet now. I don't need to watch Porky's to see that without having to slog through the bullies and the jocks and the nerds and everything. I just don't need it. So I don't know. So George, I saw you chuckle when I said Porky's. Did I steal yours or what's yours?
You did. So I'm mad as fuck because Mo immediately went to John, and so I get stuck with the shit end of the stick having to come up with something else.
You always want to be saved to last for your panache, So
no panache this time. I'm in the deep. So no, Porky's was going to be my choice, but I honestly don't like the question. And I'm not saying this because I don't want our patrons to send us questions. I love our questions that our patrons send us. But I mean, just the general idea that people say, look back at something in a period of time and tell me why it's overrated. Well, I don't think that's fair because when that thing was created in the time that it was and it became popular, it was rated appropriately for how popular it was back then. And it's unfair to judge it through a lens of today. Now, if you want to say, does it not hold up?
That's
a different question.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to say, is it appropriate in today's modern society? That's a completely different question. But to say something is overrated denotes that the rating continues throughout history. And I think we've gotten into that mindset a little bit because Rotten Tomatoes is out there and cataloging all these different people's ratings and tomatoes and split whatever. I just don't like to say was something underrated or overrated in its time. It was rated appropriately for what the masses felt for it. Now, does that mean that everybody got everything right? No, of course not. There were things that people missed, Firefly being chief among them.
I agree, 100%.
Right? Like in the day, Firefly was grotesquely underrated, both Nielsen-wise and in how good it was, and we lost out on something great. But Porky's doesn't hold up. I will agree with that. It's not even very salacious by today's standards at all.
No, not really. No, just uncomfortable.
It's almost tame a little bit. There's some uncomfortable moments, like you said, with, some of the things that would be readily accepted by a male dominated white society at that time versus today. But it was hard for me to think of a movie that's overrated because every movie that I saw, whether I loved or hated it, it was at that time, and I'm a different person now, and the movie didn't have a chance to change. So,
and we did.
That's why I don't think that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, no, I guess I would counter that is that I thought E.T. was overrated when I saw it the first time in 1986 or whatever it came out in 1983. I thought it was overrated then. Because everyone was hyping about it and I went to see it and I was like, I don't get it.
Right. You didn't like it at the time.
I still don't.
Right. And you still don't. So you disagreed with the mass of people who loved it.
Right.
And you were on the smaller spectrum of people who hated it. Yeah. That's fine. I got no problem with that. And for you, that movie was overrated.
I mean, all these questions are for our personal opinions, right? I mean, we're not asking from the masses standpoint what was overrated. We're saying just from your personal experience.
But the question is, what movie from your childhood do you think is the most overrated? It almost like implies that it's a movie that you liked when you were young, that you wished you didn't, that you don't think you like now.
Oh, okay. I didn't take it that way, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't do that because I didn't get to see Porky's when I was young. Nobody let me watch it. So I didn't watch it until I was older.
Yeah.
And then I was so disappointed that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
How did you not get to see Porky's when you were young? I saw it and I was 2 years younger than you. I don't know. You just weren't inventive enough, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess so. I guess not. Anyway. We certainly appreciate the question. Well, two of us appreciate the question. I'm kidding. No, I get you, George. No. Thank you, Kevin, for your patronage and for supporting us and for dropping us a line. Funny that we picked the same movie independently. We did not coordinate that at all. In fact,
we did not coordinate that at all. Yeah. No.
We thank you for your patronage, as I said. And before we get out of the show, I want to thank a couple more patrons who joined Kevin in supporting us over at GenXGrownUp.com/Patreon. I'm going to thank Jose V and Patrick M. Two more fiercely generous folks who headed over to Patreon at patreon.com/GenXGrownUp and signed up for a regular monthly pledge to help support what we do. We have bills to pay. We have wages, with salaries to put out. We have subscriptions to handle. We have even the platform we're recording on right now charges us every month to do it. And patrons help us do that. So Jose, Patrick, thank you for joining this roster of amazing folks. We're so grateful for you, and we couldn't keep doing it without you. So please consider joining them if you haven't already. We would certainly love to have your support. That is going to wrap it up for this edition of the show. But don't worry, we'll be back in 2 weeks with another one. But next week is our backtrack. That's where we pick a single nostalgic topic and dig in deep. And George, would you be so kind as to let our fourth listener know what is coming their way in store next week in the backtrack?
Well, I think we're all going to be in detention the next Saturday when we decide to talk about this one. It's going to be The Breakfast Club, the seminal John Hughes coming-of-age high school classic from the 80s. We're going to dive deep into this episode, talk all about the characters, the writing, and the John Hughes universe that it born out. So I'm very much looking forward to this podcast.
Yeah, same here. Fourth listener, I think you're going to dig it. Hope you will join us for that one. Until then, I am John. George, thank you so much for being here, man.
Yes, sir.
Mo, you know I appreciate you.
Always fun, man.
Fourth listener, it's you. We all three appreciate most of all, though. We can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Take care, everybody.
No life, no fun. Don't you know that you're a grown-up?
Gen X Grown Up is a member of the Evergreen Podcast family. Learn more at evergreenpodcasts.com.
While she shows till sunrise. Unacceptable for grown-ups. Your dinner cannot just be french fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up.
Apparently, I didn't put my phone on the charger last night, but didn't notice it. Because I walk in and pick it up, and it wasn't until I was coming home from lunch and I saw a notification. I look, it says your phone's at 11%. Like, what?
Also, you start panicking.
I have one, like the thing that I rest my phone on is one of those, Qi chargers.
Oh yeah.
So wherever I'm at in the house, I've got like 6 of them in the house. I just wherever I go, I put my phone.
That's where
down.
You put it down. So it's like always 98%, right? No matter what.
In a world infatuated with comic fandom comes a show to help us remember the talents that have inspired us.
Whoa, cut.
Oh, come on. It wasn't that bad.
It's a bit dramatic. Let's just tell them about the show, guys.
We are the Canned Air Podcast.
Join us weekly for a comedic trip through pop culture. We also welcome some cool comic creators, as well as some of the voice and screen actors that helped shape your childhood.
Find us on cannedairpodcast.com and on the Evergreen Podcast Network.
Hello, and welcome to Novel Conversations, a podcast about the world's greatest stories. I'm your host, Frank Lavallo, and for each episode of Novel Conversations, I talk to 2 readers about one book. And together, we summarize the story for you. We introduce you to the characters, we tell you what happens to them, and we read from the book along the way. So if you love hearing a good story, you're in the right place. Our 9th season is coming this fall. Tune in to hear from some of the all-time great authors, Charles Dickens, Jules Verne, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and more. Subscribe to Novel Conversations wherever you listen to podcasts.